You know, if you open up Google Earth and just start exploring, you expect to see a lot of blue, a lot of mystery deep beneath the waves. But what if I told you that in some places, something is hiding in plain sight? Today, we're going to do a deep dive, a kind of forensic audit, on some of the strangest anomalies you can find on this planet, and they're all visible to anyone with an internet connection. So, our investigation starts right here, in the eastern Mediterranean. Now, take a good look. What you're seeing, those aren't natural formations. I mean, come on, these are perfectly straight trenches and bizarre geometrically spaced holes that stretch for hundreds of miles across the ocean floor. The question is obvious, right? What in the world could have created them?
Well, there are two very, very different stories here. The official story? It's that these are just digital mistakes. Glitches in the matrix, basically. Errors that happen when you clumsily stitch together a bunch of different sonar maps. But the research we're digging into today, it makes a much more radical claim, that we are looking at the actual, physical evidence of planetary-scale engineering.
All right, to get to the bottom of this, we have to start at the crime scene itself. We're going to treat this just like a forensic investigation, and that means we start with the evidence that's been left behind on the seabed. The sheer precision of these things is what's so mind-bending. We're talking about the Levantine Basin, a really strategic spot between Europe and the Middle East. And what we see here, it just completely defies natural geology. The trenches are way too straight, the holes are too perfectly geometric. So this brings up a huge question. If they're not just software glitches, then what are they?
You know what they say, every major cover-up needs a really good cover story. And in this case, the official explanation is just as massive as the scars themselves, and it involves trillions of cubic feet of natural gas.
So the official narrative chalks all this activity up to the discovery of these gigantic natural gas fields, especially the one they call the Leviathan field. And honestly, it's the perfect reason to have a massive, permanent, and heavily armed naval presence right in that spot. But according to the theory we're looking at, the gas is just where the story begins.
And this is where we get to the heart of the indictment. The claim here is that the project's name is actually a deliberate clue, a kind of wink and a nod they call the revelation of the method. The name, Leviathan, right in the Levantine Basin, it's not about a sea monster or gas. It's a phonetic signal that the real prize is levitation, mastering electrogravitic tech for a secret fleet.
So, you see how this works? The gas rigs are this perfect, multi-layered cover. First, they create a naval exclusion zone. Second, they provide the legal justification for a military fleet to be there 24/7. And most importantly, they act as this huge physical platform to hide the enormous off-the-books power grid needed for whatever is really happening right underneath them.
Okay, so we've covered the why, the cover story. Now let's get to the how. How could you possibly build this? This next part explores the actual hardware that was allegedly used to create this unbelievable network.
I mean, this is the biggest logistical problem you can imagine. Normal tunneling creates millions of tons of rock and rubble. Trying to do that under an ocean, without a massive, obvious fleet of ships hauling away debris for years on end, it should be completely impossible. So how could you ever do it in secret?
Well, the proposed solution came from a place we're all familiar with, the Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory, the birthplace of the atomic bomb. Their idea was simple. Instead of digging and hauling, they developed a machine that just melts its way right through the Earth's crust. It's called the nuclear subterrene.
And look, this isn't science fiction. The paper trail for this technology is real. It leads right here to this patent filed with the U.S. Patent Office way back in the early 70s. This document literally describes the method and the machine for tunneling by melting. It's the exact blueprint you would need.
So here's how it's supposed to work. The machine has its own compact nuclear reactor on board, and it uses it to heat a tungsten tip to insane temperatures. It doesn't drill, it vitrifies the rock. It turns it into this smooth, super strong glass-lined tube. And all that immense heat from the process, it bleeds upwards into the seabed, creating the thermal scars and trenches that sonar picks up years later and calls anomalies.
So if they really built this incredible infrastructure, you have to ask, where does it go? Well, the investigation suggests this isn't just a couple of tunnels. We're talking about a high-speed strategic highway connecting entire continents.
The alleged map of this network connects some very critical military and geopolitical dots. It supposedly runs from major NATO air bases in Europe, like Larissa in Greece, goes directly to resource-rich zones in North Africa, and then continues on to fortified command centers in Israel. It's a completely hidden supply chain, moving people, tech, and materials entirely off the grid. And for some ground truth, proponents of this theory point to one specific event: the emergency landing of a top-secret RQ-180 stealth drone at Larissa Air Base. The argument goes like this: you don't park the crown jewel of your entire spy fleet at some random foreign base. The thinking is that Larissa isn't just an airstrip, it's a heavily fortified entry point, an elevator door to the sub-oceanic network below.
And what's moving through these tunnels? Well, the technology that's believed to be running through them is a high-speed maglev train inside a vacuum-sealed tube. With no air resistance, stuff can move at supersonic speeds. A journey of hundreds of miles, say from a mine in Africa to a hangar in Greece, could take less than 45 minutes and be completely invisible to the world above.
And, once again, the patent record gives us another crucial piece of the puzzle. This patent for an evacuated tube transport system, filed in the late 90s, lays out all the public-facing physics for the exact kind of supersonic transit system that is allegedly operating in these deep-sea tunnels. Okay, this is where we need to zoom all the way out. We've got tunnels, secret drones, underground trains. What is the ultimate point of all of this? The answer, according to this line of inquiry, is probably the most staggering claim of all.
This entire infrastructure allegedly serves a purpose far beyond simple military logistics. They say it's the foundation of what's called a breakaway civilization, a parallel, classified society with technology light years ahead of ours. It operates from a global network of deep underground bases, completely independent from our world, and is preparing to survive a planetary reset and emerge as the rulers on the other side.
And that brings us to the final verdict of this whole investigation. Those strange lines on Google Earth, they aren't software glitches, they're not gas pipelines. The indictment claims they are the arteries of a hidden global empire, an empire that has cut itself off entirely from the surface world that we all live in.
The research we've gone through really boils its argument down to this one powerful idea. The raw data of the Earth's surface doesn't lie. It's the official explanations, the maps and the labels given to us by the cartographers that are designed to mislead us. And so this leaves us with one last really provocative question. This whole forensic audit, it's just focused on one tiny corner of the globe. If any of these claims are even remotely close to the truth, just imagine, what other secrets does the deep ocean hold? What else is hiding down there in the dark, just waiting to be found?